This is a little music basics video just to kind of get us started in music production, songwriting. We really need to have a good handle on the basics of music. Sometimes it's called fundamentals. If you continue to study, you'll eventually run across the name music theory, which is another common name. But to be the best producer, songwriter that you can possibly be, musician, you need to know as much about music as possible. One of the good things that I've discovered is you can learn a lot about music theory using your DAW, your digital audio workstation. Now I'm using GarageBand, and I mostly use Logic Pro. GarageBand is the smaller brother of Logic Pro, and I'm going to use GarageBand just to kind of talk a little bit about our module on music basics. So the first thing we start talking about in the module on music basics is the grand staff. So I've recorded a very familiar tune here, just a little bit of it, and I'll talk more about this later, but let me call up the grand staff. All right, this is the grand staff with notes. This area right here. Now there should be a little brace here. It's not on this particular one, but that's what you normally see when you have piano music. There's a brace here. All right, this doesn't have one, but just kind of remember that there's normally a brace that you would see. If this was Logic Pro, you probably would see that brace there. But anyway, this is a treble clef. This is usually played with the right hand on the piano keyboard. This is the bass clef, which is usually played with the left hand. All right. This is the time signature. It tells me, in this case, there are 4 beats in the measure, and the bottom number tells me that a quarter note, which are notes like these, gets 1 beat. So if a quarter note gets 1 beat, half notes like this get 2, and all the way down here at the end, whole notes like this get 4 in this particular time signature. Now there are other time signatures that would change that, and we're not going to talk about those right now, but you just want to be aware of that. All right. The reason this is called the grand staff is because we have the treble and bass staffs or clefs together. Staff and clefs are just about the same thing. Sometimes we use those words interchangeably. But these two staffs, clefs, would be played together. Let's hear what they sound like. All right. Now I played this on my MIDI keyboard connected to my computer to create this. All right. So this is exactly the way it sounds. It's created using a piano, digital piano that I have, and that's the way the notes look on the staff. Okay. And you have some information on our web pages in our class about the names of each one of these lines and each one of these spaces. So I won't go through that now, but there are 88 notes on a full-size piano. Half of them are written usually in the treble clef, and the other half are written usually in the bass clef. So I guess you would say 44 in the treble and 44 in the bass usually. Now that just not all the way, that's not the way it is all the time, but normally that's the way you can think of it and be okay. Okay, as I said, these are whole notes, notes that look like this. This would be 4 beats here. Notes that look like this, quarter notes. Notes that look like this are half notes, okay? And we're in 4/4 time, so we count. And you can hear this metronome up here just giving me a tick, and it's ticking 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that was at 77 beats. I'm gonna, the tempo was 77 there. I'm gonna speed the tempo up to about 90. Listen now. Okay. All right, it's a little bit faster. All right, I'm gonna speed it up a little bit more. Let's go up to about 120 and listen again. All right, so as I increase the numbers, that's the tempo. As I increase those numbers, the music gets faster. All right, so just want you to kind of keep that. Now, all of that information is coming from within GarageBand. GarageBand is a great tool for learning theory and fundamentals and the basics of music, whatever you want to call it. So, and I wanted to do this so that you'd understand it's not necessarily separate. It's actually all together. I would use this same program to produce music, which we're going to do later in the semester. But I wanted you to see that. Now, just a few other things. We talk about melody. This top line here is the melody. That's the single line that adds up to a recognizable whole. All right, to illustrate that a little bit more, I'm going to come over here and I am going to very quickly just bring the volume down of the left hand and let you hear just the melody of Mary Had a Little Lamb. Listen. All right, that's the melody. That's the part of Mary Had a Little Lamb. That's the most important part. That's the recognizable part of the song. The right hand usually plays that, as we saw in when we looked at the score. Okay, this is the piano roll that I'm using here. This is the harmony or the chords. I'm gonna bring the volume down of all of these. You just hear them sounding there. I'm gonna bring them. This is what the chords sound like. Listen. All right. So every time I change chords, that is known as a chord progression. Now this is very simple. There are only 2 chords in this piece. And you can see them here. This is one chord. They look alike. This is a different chord. These 3 are just like the beginning, and then there's one more. But that's a chord progression, moving from this one to this one and back to this one. That's a chord progression or progress. We're making movements, so we refer to that as a progression. Now, I'm not going to do this right now, but I do want you to be aware that we are using a DAW for our examples. Now, I'm going to use this pretty much the entire semester, so you won't have to worry about, me using something different or something else. I do want to show you this and trying to keep these videos kind of short, but I wanted to show you this particular sound is from a electric piano. Now I could change the sound to something from an orchestra, woodwinds or what have you, anything I want. Let's listen to a pipe organ real quick. Listen. Oh, I'm sorry, I got to change the sound. Hold on. Listen. Okay, now, depending on what style that I'm going for, I might want a pipe organ sound. I have several organs here to choose from. As you can see, I've got a bass organ, a cathedral organ, and so on down the line. My style and what I'm trying to achieve would determine which I choose, okay? Whatever I decide to use is what is based on my individual style. And GarageBand and Logic Pro, as well as Fruity Loops and Cubase and Pro Tools, all of these are good programs to use to learn theory as well as music production. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but if I wanted to change the flavor or style of Mary Had a Little Lamb, I have many options I can choose from, and you can see me kind of scrolling here. I could go, and I'm not going to do a lot with that now, but that's a vintage B3 organ there. I have mallets, like a marimba. I've got a vibraphone, just a little of that. Okay, so I have my choice of what I'd like to use. So it's really up to me to be very particular and discerning about exactly what it is I want to do and what I want to create. Okay, that's enough for this video on music basics. We'll catch you next time. All right.